Welcome back to We Need to Talk. This is the show that looks at football on the internet over the past 7 days. The 7 days that seen Sergio Ramos showing us why he's such a beast in the air. Gerard Piqué turning up to the Nou Camp pre-game on a bike. And Son and Hugo Lloris trying to scrap each other.
Haven't really carried enough of a threat. Only at the end of the half with that Richarlison effort did they get anywhere near it. And what's going on here with these Spurs players?
Anyway, today we need to talk about the world's best wonder kids. Yes, over the past few months whilst we've been in lockdown, I've been doing a few tier lists and they've been doing alright. And with the emergence of Mason Greenwood, I thought why not rank some of Europe's best wonder kids. Now, I've left out some of the more established names that are already crushing it week in, week out for their club. The likes of Mbappe, the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I would kind of no longer classify as wonder kids. I think they're already established stars within their first team. But I've almost definitely missed some names off the list. I've tried to remember as many as I can, but I'm sure I will have forgotten some. So if I have forgotten any, please let me know who I've forgotten below and put them in a ranking position yourself. Despite the fact I've left Mbappe and Trent off this list, I have included Jadon Sancho. I don't know why, I just still classify him as an emerging talent. 17 goals, 16 assists in the Bundesliga this season. I think he's the first player in history to do that. Get 15 plus in that competition in both of those categories. I don't need to say too much about him. He's truly elite. What a player. Tier 1. All right, next up, Alphonso Davies. He's still only 19. Just an unbelievable talent. I said it before. I watched him tear Chelsea apart at Stamford Bridge. The most dribbles in this Bayern Munich squad. A frightening turn of pace. 3 goals, 5 assists in 2,000 league minutes in a position he didn't even play until he arrived in Germany. Let's not forget. Gonna have to put him tier 1 too because he's gonna win the Bundesliga. And he might well win the Champions League. So tier 1 for the Canadian genius. Alright, moving on to Bukayo Saka, 18 years old. What a frightening talent Bukayo Saka is. I think only KDB and Trent have more assists in all competitions for a Premier League player this season. His goal against Wolves was a really, really good strike. Only Cesc Fabregas has more assists as a teenager in an Arsenal shirt in a single season. I don't think he's at Sancho level just yet. He definitely has the ability to get up there. I'm going to put him in tier 3 just because I already know some of the players, and you do as well, that are going in tier 2, but a supreme talent. Phil Foden up next, 20 years old. Now, Phil I am going to put in the tier 2 bracket. He's already won trophies in his young career, directly involved in 19 goals in 25 starts in all competitions. Now, he has turned 20, which means he's teetering towards the no longer a wonder kid level, but I think with David Silva departing next season, he's going to be a key player in the City team, so I'm going to put him in tier 2. Alright, next up we've got Eduardo Camavinga. Now, the youngest player on this list, he's aged just 17. Not really got the goals and assist numbers because he plays in a defensive position, so I find this one quite hard to rank, but obviously he's been incredibly important for Rennes, hasn't he? I think they won 25% of their league games without him compared to 44% with him, and I think he is going to go on to become a star defensive midfielder in the future. But because of his age and because of the levels of some of the other players on this list, I'm going to put him in tier 4. That's no disrespect because I think he is going to go on to become a really good player. But right now, he's still got a bit of growth to do at a better club. Alright, next up, we have to talk about him. Mason Greenwood, 18 years old, right and left foot sent from the gods. It's like a thunderclap every time he strikes the ball. I think he scored 9 Premier League goals, 16 in all competitions for an 18-year-old. That is absolutely eye-watering. I think in the Premier League at his age, only like Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney and Robbie Fowler had scored more in a single season. So he is a frightening talent. I just don't know whether I've ever seen anyone kick the ball as hard as he can at 18. But he's not quite Jadon Sancho level at this moment in time. I think he can go on to hit that level. What a talent. I'm going to put him in tier 2 just because I don't want to be biased. But he can definitely be a tier 1 player in the future. Alright, next up we've got Dejan Kulusevski. He is 20 years old, Kulusevski, so he's got a little bit of time on the likes of Mason Greenwood, and that move to Juve was for an eye-watering fee from Atalanta, wasn't it? And he has done well on loan at Parma. 7 goals, 7 assists in I think 2,500 minutes, something like that. But just because he's not playing week in, week out for his parent club, and really pushing hard to be a starting player at the elite level, I think I'll put him in tier 4. But another player, when he goes back to his parent club, I think could definitely be competing for higher tiers. Ansu Fati's up next, still just 17 years old. It feels like he's been around for quite some time now. Became the second youngest player in La Liga history to reach 5 goals in the competition, behind Bojan. He's obviously broken a lot of the Barcelona records as well, hasn't he? But having said that, 2 starts in Barca's last 9 games. I don't know. I don't know whether he's a tier 2 player. Maybe this is the Premier League bias coming out of me, and it probably is, but just because I've watched Phil Foden and Mason Greenwood play a lot more game time than Ansu Fati, I'm going to put him in tier 3. Let the pelters begin. All right, we've got another La Liga star here, Rodrigo, 19 years old. Obviously the fastest player to score a La Liga goal for Madrid since like Ronaldo, I think that was. And the second youngest player to score a hat-trick in the Champions League after Raul. So he holds some prestigious records, doesn't he? 7 goals, 2 assists in 1,000 minutes for Los Blancos. Again, I'm going to put him in tier 3. I think the Premier League bias is showing in me pretty strong here. But, 9 goal involvements when we're looking at sort of Mason Greenwood putting up 16 plus. Jadon Sancho putting up 30 odd. He's obviously going to go on to become a star in this Real Madrid side in the future. Gabriel Martinelli, Arsenal fans will be excited by this one. Obviously the first player to score 10 plus goals in an Arsenal season as a teenager since Nicolas Anelka. He obviously hasn't played since the restart because of that knee injury. Where did I put Bukayo Saka? I put Bukayo Saka in tier 3. I'll put Gabriel Martinelli in tier 3 as well, although it's very close between tier 3, tier 2. I'll stick with tier 3. Erling Braut Haaland. What to say about Thor? I'm going to have to put him in tier 1 because, this is a player who scored 53 goals in 43 games this season. And he's going at a frightening tick even in the Bundesliga. 13 goals in 11 starts, 2 assists. He's got 8 in 4 in the Champions League. And he's just doing pretty much everything in every competition. So, yeah, he has to be a tier 1 wonder kid. I was starting to run out of names at this stage, I'm not going to lie. So, Dwight McNeil I've put in here. Obviously, the pelters can begin now. But he is a pretty decent talent. He's still only 20 years old, of course. Released by Manchester United, picked up by Burnley. 2 goals, 6 assists this season. Just because I need a player in tier 5, I'm going to put Dwight McNeil in tier 5. But I think that's really harsh. I actually think he's a very good player and has a much higher ceiling than Burnley. So yeah, I put him in tier 5, but I think he's a good player. Moving on now to Takefusa Kubo, still only 19 years old and doing really, really well for a pretty shite Mallorca side. 4 goals, 4 assists on loan. He puts up big numbers in terms of dribbling. But again, a little bit like Dejan, I'm going to have to put him in tier 4 just because he's not doing it for his parent club. And he's not quite statistically hit the level of some of the players in tier 3 and tier 2. I still think he's going to be a serious player. And he's definitely going to start for Real Madrid in the future. But I think the loan just holds him back in this ranking system. I'm going to chuck William Saliba in here as well. Still only 19, isn't he? And obviously doing great things for Saint Etienne and should really be starting next season for Arsenal. I think Saint Etienne had an 80% win rate with him in the team and were conceding less than 0.5 goals per game. And that dropped to like 25% when he wasn't in the side and nearly a goal a game more. I'll put him in tier 4 just because, like Kubo, like Dejan, not playing for his parent club right now. So yeah, I'll put him in tier 4, but he's going to be a star for Arsenal next season. All right, so that was my tier list of Europe's best wonder kids. Obviously, it's going to be controversial because they are all fantastic players and all going to go on to become exceptional talents for big teams. But I had to do it. So let me know who you agree with, who you didn't agree with in the comments below. Alright, so that's it for today's episode of We Need to Talk. Of course, we have launched the brand new Football Daily podcast channel.
Hello, it's Patrick Van Straten, just letting you know about our new podcast channel, Football Daily Podcasts. From now on, the Extra Time podcast will be going live over on that channel every week, and it will not be alone. We'll be premiering a European football podcast very soon, headed up by our very own Doogie Critchley. So head over to Football Daily Podcasts if you want to check out the podcast in video form. And of course, you can still get it as an audio download on your favourite podcast app. We hope to see you there. Bye.
go and subscribe to that because we will get extra time. You're going to get a European podcast on there as well. It's well worth it. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later.